How to deal with setbacks as a foreign lawyer in Canada. Now, a disclaimer before I start, this is easier said than done. When I was an NCA student, I was not good at dealing with setbacks because setbacks meant that I'm failing. And if I'm failing, I am not moving towards my goal of becoming a lawyer. And if I'm not moving towards my goal, then that's something that really stressed me out. So, while I can share some thoughts based on my experience and also something that I knew back then, I do acknowledge that this is easier said than done because when you're in the situation, there's a lot at stake and it's hard to not take things personally. It's hard to not feel like everything is just falling apart. Right? You're working so hard for these exams to move on to the next steps, but there are going to be setbacks. Everyone's journey that I've heard of, there have been setbacks, but then, they overcome the setbacks and then get back to where they need to be. But today I want to talk about how do you deal with setbacks as an NCA student and what kind of setbacks, could they be? So starting from the beginning, getting an NCA assessment, right? Sometimes you think that, I probably need to write 5 exams and the NCA ends up providing you with an assessment and you need to take 10. I don't know. Or sometimes you get back an assessment that asks you to go to school in person. You have to either do an LLM or you have to go back to school for a year or 2. Now, this is something that you did not anticipate, and again, this is a setback. When I applied for my NC assessment, I had to write, I don't know how many courses. I believe there are 8 courses. I wasn't expecting that I'm going to get that many courses because, again, I have the LLM in Canada. I didn't do my NCA exams as part of the LLM, but a lot of it depends on your law school grades. My grades were okay, not the greatest, so I had to take a lot of exams. Now, how do you deal with something like this? In the moment, again, I hated it. I hated writing all the exams. But now that I think back at it, sometimes I feel like the fact that I wrote all these exams, I really learned this skill of self-studying. Something that I now use at my workplace. The ability to put your head down, figure things out on your own, and do it. I would have never learned that skill if I didn't write 8 exams on my own, just doing what I thought I needed to do and just figuring it out on my own. So sometimes setbacks are really an opportunity for you to learn the skills that you really need that they're going to help you succeed in the future. Again, when you're in the moment, it's probably not what you want, but now that I look back at it, the Rabia in many years ago now, who was thinking, oh my God, why do I need to write all these exams? Now I can go back and actually say to this person that you don't know what you're gaining by doing this. Because again, you don't know in the moment. So definitely, I feel like if you got your NC assessment and you feel like, I wasn't expecting this and this is a setback, just maybe think through things. Maybe this is something that is best for you. On to what other setbacks can you experience. So let's say that you write your NCA exams and now you are finding an articling position or you're looking for an LPP placement. This is something that I've talked about previously too so many times. You apply for 30 to 40 jobs, you get a couple of interviews, and then you get 1 position. That's how the numbers are. So if there's something there that's your dream job and you don't get it, that could be a setback, right? Or if you were thinking of getting into a specific area of the law and then you're unable to find something there and you end up getting something in a completely different area that you're not interested in, that may also be a setback. Now, from my experience, I always wanted to work in-house. I always wanted to get into the government. And I did complete my LPP placement in-house, and then I had some government interviews, but I never got any positions. But now that I think about it, I feel like maybe I wouldn't have been doing the work that I do now if it was for being in-house or just a government position. And the fact that I didn't get any of those positions, I feel like may have been a good redirection for me. Because what I do now is completely different to what I would have been doing if I was just placed in a setting, a corporate setting. It would have been very different. I don't know how much of it I would have really enjoyed. So sometimes life pushes you in a direction which is actually beneficial for you. In the moment, it hurts and you're like, why am I not getting this? But I think how you can deal with it is sort of just thinking that this is life's way of redirecting you into the direction that you should be in. And again, it's hard, right? And when you have bills to pay and when you have responsibilities, nothing that anybody says is going to fix your problems. And I get that. But I guess we don't want to be discouraged by the setbacks that come with this process, because everybody that I've spoken to has gone through this. Last setback that I wanted to discuss, so for example, now you're a lawyer and you don't have a job. I was really scared of this. I'm not going to lie. This is something that scared me the most. I had some friends who looked for work, were not able to find work, ended up opening their own practices, and have been doing good. But I was really scared. What if I have spent these many years thinking that, once I become a lawyer, everything's going to be okay, and then all of a sudden, nothing is okay. So I was really scared, and, I graduated during COVID, and I didn't get hired back. So it was a really scary moment for me. But thankfully, I ended up finding a job that I'm still there, still happy with what I'm doing. But I think that if this happens to someone where they're unable to find work at all and they end up opening their own practice, again, at the time this may look like this is the end of the world. And it may be, right? Because you're spending so much time and energy into something and then you don't get anything back. I've spoken to so many people who ended up opening their own practices, and it's sort of unfair, right? You work hard, you do everything that you need to, and then you don't find anything. It is very hard. If you're facing something like that, I mean, it's quite normal to feel really stressed out. But I think the way that you can handle it is when you open your own practice, and if you try to actually get into the business side of law and doing stuff on your own, those are really valuable skills. If you know how to run a law firm, if you know how to run your own practice, you can definitely work for somebody again, right? But maybe this is your chance to actually work for yourself. Because people who work for other people don't really know the skills as to what do they need to do things on their own. You only learn when you do it. So maybe by doing that, you're just being ahead of a few other people, that you know how to get business, you know how to run a business, and so maybe that will lead you to a job. Again, I have friends who started their own businesses and then ended up working for other firms, but they learned really valuable skills by opening their own firms. Again, I'm not saying that any of this is easy, but it's just a way of thinking that can help you just stay positive, because a positive mindset can take you far.